Hello and welcome to this story of my life. This is another story from my kindergarten days, my first days at school. As it happened, my grandmother, my father's mother, Nana Nolan, was the cleaner at my school. She used to get up 4 o'clock in the morning during the school year, rain, hail or shine, particularly in the cold Wagga winters, and she would go off and clean my school every morning. And the other little boys, 5-year-old boys are like, the other little boys used to tease me and criticise me about my grandmother being the school cleaner. And they used to say that I came from a poor family and my grandmother was poor, and if we had money, then why did we need our grandmother to work, and etc., etc. So they teased me and provoked me about my grandmother being the school cleaner. And sad to say, as a little 5-year-old boy, I was a bit ashamed that my grandmother had to be the cleaner of the school, and I felt bad about that. And I was like, why does my grandmother, obviously I love my grandmother, right? So why does my grandmother have to do the task of cleaning at the school? What's that all about as a 5-year-old boy? And as I said previously on an earlier story, in our house it was the done thing that we ate dinner together at the dinner table, and that was the time that we would ask our dad questions and he would dispense his wisdom. Sad to say that doesn't happen anymore. So one day Dad was like, "What's news, boys? What have you got to say for yourselves?" And I said, "I've got a question, Dad." And he said, "What's that?" Excuse me, because these stories, I'm finding that recording these stories bring back a lot of emotions because of the people involved. I love my grandmother very much. And I said, I'm a bit upset and concerned. The other boys are teasing me about Nana being the cleaner at the school. Why does Nana have to have a job? Why does she have to be the cleaner? What's that all about? Now, I didn't say to my father that I felt ashamed that she was the cleaner. He picked that up for himself. I was feeling ashamed that my grandmother had to be the cleaner of the school, but I didn't say it. I just said the other boys are teasing me, and why does Nana have to have a job? Why does she have to be the cleaner at the school? And there must have been some way that I'd said that my father figured out that I was in some way upset or ashamed that my grandmother had to be a cleaner. So he said, "Come with me. He said, "Come with me, boy." And I said, "Okay." And I got up and he walked to the bathroom in our house, and to the toilet, where the toilet was, because there was a toilet and there was a shower area, bathroom. So in our house there was a separate small room for the toilet and there was a bathroom. And so he took me into the toilet and he put me forward in front of him and he says, "Do you know what that is?" And I said, "Sure, I know. That's the toilet." He says, "You know what you do there? You know what people do there?" And I said, "Well, sure, we wee and we poo there. That's what we do." And he says, "That's right." And he said, "And every day that toilet's sparkling clean. Every morning you get out of bed and you come down here and you go to the toilet, right?" I went, "Yeah." He said, "And it's clean." "Yeah." He says, "Well, who do you think cleans that toilet every day?" And I went, "Oh," because as a 5-year-old, just laughing. I mean, when you think about it, as a 5-year-old, the toilet's magic. It cleans itself, right? You never think somebody cleans this toilet. As a 5-year-old, you don't stop and think somebody cleans this toilet, right? So in that instant where Dad said, "Who do you think cleans the toilet?" that was the first time it had ever occurred to me that somebody cleaned the toilet. It was a magic toilet that cleaned itself, right? And I went, "Oh," because it suddenly dawned on me that, of course, my mother cleans the toilet. And I said, "Oh, Mum cleans the toilet." And he says, "Yes, your mother cleans the toilet, and she cleans it every night before she goes to bed. So I want you to understand this, boy. He said, cleaning the toilet is a job that's good enough for your mother. Okay? Cleaning the toilet is a job that's good enough for your mother. So there is great honour in doing menial tasks for other people, and you never forget that. And I went, okay, cleaning toilets is good enough for my mother to do. Cleaning floors and cleaning the school is good enough for my grandmother to do, and there's nothing to be ashamed of in that. There's honour in all honest work, right? And so my dad taught me that when I was a 5-year-old. And the lesson out of that obviously is there's honour in all work, in any work. When you're doing some job, doing some work, as long as it's being done with for the right purpose, for the right intent, particularly in terms of providing for yourself and providing for your family, there's honour in all honest work. Now, of course, the corollary to this story was so funny. Many years later, in 1995, when I was 31, I did the Landmark Forum in February 1995, and I was so hyped up about it that I wanted to assist full out on a forum, for a whole forum, and the forums ran from 9 o'clock Friday morning to approximately 1 a.m. Sunday night, and the forum assistants had to come in on the Thursday evening for the setup for the Friday morning. And so a forum assistant could expect to come in at 6 o'clock on Thursday night for the setup and leave probably 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning Monday morning after the breakdown of the room. And so I wanted to assist on a forum because I wanted to be part of creating this space for the magic that was the Landmark Forum. And so I went to my session to get my job, etc., and plan. And when David came to me, the forum leader was a great man called David Miles, fantastic man. I really love David Miles. He's just a wonderful man. And when it came to me, he goes, "Okay, Peter, your job is keeping the male toilets clean." And I said, "Excuse me?" And he said, "Your job is to keep the toilets clean." Oh, sorry, all the toilets. I did the female toilets as well, I think. So your job is to be keeping the toilets clean. And I went, "Oh." And David looked at me and he said, "Why, oh?" And I went, "Well, to be honest with you, David, I thought I would get a, let's say, better job." And he said, "Oh, you think there's better jobs than cleaning toilets?" And I went, "Well, yeah." Some of the other people here are getting what I consider a better job than cleaning toilets. And he said, "So when you did your forum, were the toilets ever dirty when you went to them?" And I went, "No, they weren't. They were spotless. They were clean." He said, "So when you did your forum, did it ever occur to you did you ever have the thought, oh, these toilets, there's 150, there's however many people in the room, and the toilets are dirty. And did you ever get distracted from what it was that you were doing in the Landmark Forum by the fact that the toilets were dirty? Did that ever distract you during the forum? And during your forum?" And I said, "No, you're right. That never distracted me." And he said, "Trust me, clean toilets are actually pretty important around here. If the toilets are dirty, the participants will be distracted by the dirty toilets." And I went, that makes sense. And as I was thinking to myself, that makes sense, the story of my father taking me to the toilet in our house and bringing me to the realization that my mum cleaned the toilets came back to me in that instant. And I went, I remember that. And I said, "David, I will clean these toilets for you." And I did. I cleaned toilets for the whole weekend, and those toilets were so damn clean. You could have eaten off those toilets. You could have eaten off the floor. And I was joyous and happy doing it. And during the breaks, some of the participants would ask us graduates what we did for a living, right? And because the participants are interested, you're here, you're giving your time, you're cleaning the toilets, you've done the forum, you seem to be really happy about what you're doing. What do you do for a job? What's your personal situation? What did you get out of your participation, etc., etc.? People would ask this question on this weekend. And so I would tell them, I'm married, I have 4 children, I run my own business, I make twice as much money as what I was used to be making at IBM. At the time I was making 150,000 Australian dollars a year, which was 4 times the average salary. And so I'd say, I'm married, 4 kids, got a degree, worked for IBM for 8.5 years, I'm senior professional in my business, I have household names for my clients, I earn $150,000 a year. I'm kind of living the dream. And people would look at me and go, why are you cleaning the toilets? And I would say to them, well, the toilets need to be cleaned. And they go, yeah, no argument that the toilets need to be cleaned. But why are you cleaning toilets and not doing something else this weekend? I mean, you're spending your weekend, we see after a break, we see you, because the toilets were actually off the side of the main room. So after a break, we see you with your cleaning gear, go into each toilet, and you come out, and then when we have our next break, we notice the toilets are spotless. So we know you're cleaning them, but what we're really interested in is, why you? And I kind of reflected what David said. Well, if the toilets are not spotless, if the toilets are not just perfect, you're going to notice that they're dirty, and it's going to distract you from what it is that you're here to get out of the Landmark Forum. My job is to make sure that these toilets are so clean that you don't even notice that they're perfectly clean. You just go about your business and you continue thinking about what it is that you came here to achieve for yourself. My job is to make sure you don't notice what's going on in the toilets, that you're kind of oblivious to it. And why me? Because I volunteered to come and assist on this forum this weekend, and I was allocated the task of cleaning the toilets, and I'm really happy that I got that task. So this is the perfect task for me for the weekend. This is the best contribution that I can make this weekend. And they would look at me going, the guy's obviously stark raving mad, right? But because there are so many angles, there's so many things about being on your hands and knees, scrubbing the floor, scrubbing toilets out. For a room, there was 200 people in that Landmark Forum, and there was 2 sets of bathrooms upstairs and 2 sets of bathrooms downstairs. So 4 toilet rooms in all for 200 people, plus all the staff and everybody else who came along. So, you've got 250 people or so in the place for the entire weekend, and they're human, they need to go to the toilet, right? And my job was cleaning all the toilets, and that's what I did. And a lot of people say to me, Peter, you're arrogant. You think you're better than anybody else. You think you're an arrogant man. And, I am one of the least arrogant men I know. And one of the examples of how I am one of the least arrogant men I know is I don't know many men who have spent 4 days on their hands and their knees scrubbing toilets out for the benefit of other people, right? Now, obviously, I got a great benefit out of scrubbing those toilets for those 4 days, because it doesn't take too much brain power to scrub a toilet. So while I was scrubbing the toilets out for those 4 days, I got a lot of time to think about why I was there scrubbing the toilets, right? And I got a lot out of my 4 days of scrubbing toilets. But if I say to you or any other man, have you ever spent 4 days scrubbing toilets for a room of 200 people plus all the support staff, and made sure that the toilets were spotless and clean for those 4 days as a contribution to other people? Is that the sort of person you are? Are you willing to get down on your hands and knees and scrub toilets in order to make contribution to somebody else? Where you don't get to talk, you don't get to be with anybody, you're just by yourself scrubbing toilets. Have you done that Is that something that you have been willing to do in your life in order to contribute to somebody else? And of course, I don't know anybody, I don't know any other men who spent 4 days on their hands and knees scrubbing toilets for somebody else. I don't know men who say, I want to help other men, I want to make a contribution, but no, I wouldn't do something as lowly as scrubbing toilets for 4 days, right? That's kind of how that goes. So that was kind of my interesting story of my life about being a 5-year-old boy and being a bit ashamed of my grandmother having to be the cleaner at the school, and my dad pointing out to me that we didn't have a self-cleaning toilet, we had a mother-cleaned toilet, and that even cleaning the toilet is an honest job and has great honour that goes along with it. Okay, so every job done with the intent of providing for oneself or providing for one's family, all those jobs, doesn't matter how menial that job is, that job can be done with honour and integrity. With who the person is. And I think that's something important for young men to learn. And I think it's important for young men to learn that some of us have been on our hands and knees scrubbing toilets for the benefit of others, and we think that there's honour in doing such. Okay? So with that, thank you very much for listening.